Hi, I'm Maya, and I'm a senior designer at IBM Watson. So it's kind of impossible to tell the story of Watson without talking about Jeopardy first, because that's kind of how Watson got its start. In 2011, IBM produced a research project, which was Watson for Jeopardy. Every couple years or so, IBM creates a new research project. It's a challenge to see what they can create, to see what they can put out there in the world. You may be familiar with that from the Big Blue Chess Challenge that came out a couple years before that. So Watson was part of one of those research challenges. And in 2011, Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, two all-stars of Jeopardy, came on to Jeopardy to challenge IBM Watson. And Watson answered questions in popular culture and literature and history and won the competition by $30,000. So it was kind of a big, big win. And if you know anything about Jeopardy, you know that questions are kind of tricky because they're a little bit backwards, and then you have to answer with a who is or a what is. So that was kind of difficult to program, and it required developing this deep QA, which is this natural language content to identify clues. And so to kind of break that down a little bit, it looks a little bit like this. So this is an example question that you might have heard on Jeopardy. And what happens is that the question is asked, and then Watson thinks of some possible answers based on that information and creates a separate thread for each answer. And then it uses all of its algorithms to study the evidence and look at factors, including the information and what type of information it is, its reliability, and how likely it is to be relevant. Then it creates this individual weighting based on what it has previously learned and how likely it is to be right. And it then generates a ranked list of answers with evidence for each of its options. So that's what you'll see on the far right. And so those high-weighted answers were the answers that it gave for Jeopardy. So after Jeopardy, we kind of realized that we'd stumbled on something a little bit bigger than just a game show engine. We developed this really intense algorithm for natural language processing, and it could have really big implications on the world. So we started using it first in healthcare. And the first thing that we did was we sent Watson to medical school. And it went to medical school, and it has a corpus of information, which is essentially all of the documents that are fed into Watson that it reads. And so we fed it all of the medical documents that medical students read, and it answered all of the tests and questions and things that medical students have to do. And it graduated medical school. So it has a medical degree. And one of the first things we did was start to look at treatment for cancer patients. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more detail in a minute. But after that, we branched out and released our Watson Developer Cloud. And these are our APIs and services that any developer can access. We have dozens of services now in language and speech, vision, and data insights. And you can go to Bluemix and sign up and give them a try. When I was working in Watson for the past year, I worked with a lot of partners that were working in these APIs and services, and I worked with a variety of different companies, a dating app that was using Watson, looking at personality and matching people up based on personality, call centers that were using Watson to analyze the tone of calls and then help provide feedback to the people working behind the scenes, marketing apps that were using Watson to read data and help better marketing, a veteran suicide prevention app that looked at helping to reduce veteran suicides by looking at their skills and matching them up with a career that worked for them, and a career counselor. We also released Chef Watson, so we paired with Bon Appetit and ingested all of their recipes and a knowledge of chemical compounds in food to create these innovative combinations of flavors. Something like this, which would be strawberries and king salmon, which you might not initially think about, but the tartness of the strawberries and the fattiness of the king salmon is like a really beautiful match. And this is used in bare naked granola. You can customize your granola using Watson. And I made one the other day with blueberries, beets, and jalapenos, so you can get some really interesting combinations that Watson helps you with. And then our most recent partner is Sesame Street. And we are partnering with them to create new learning tools for early childhood education. So now I'm going to talk about some of our case studies and some of the work that we're doing right now out in the field. In healthcare, as I mentioned before, that's a really important field that we're breaking a lot of ground in. we partnered with the New York Genome Center and are collaborating to analyze genomic cancer tumor data and then integrating that into patient medical records and using that to guide treatment strategies. And so what does that mean? Well, just a couple weeks ago at the University of Tokyo, Watson diagnosed a 60-year-old woman's rare form of leukemia that had been incorrectly identified. So it took 10 minutes to compare the patient's genetic changes with a database of 20 million cancer research papers, and that delivered this accurate diagnosis that had been otherwise missed. So essentially, Watson kind of saved the woman's life by finding this diagnosis that nobody else was able to find by analyzing that cancer genomic data. So we're working on oncology with Memorial Sloan Kettering, and we're assisting oncologists in working with diagnosis and treatment options for their patients. And so Watson can learn the behavior of a doctor and make meaningful recommendations. And so we're not trying to replace doctors or take over doctors. There's nothing like that. It's really meant to be an assistant for doctors so that when they're struggling to find a treatment option or struggling to find a diagnosis, they can access millions of pieces of data about cancer research and get responses in minutes. We're also doing clinical trial matching. So this used to take like months to find the right clinical trial for patients. And now Watson can help clinicians understand why a patient might or might not be perfect for a specific trial. And it helps increase the amount of patients per trial. So this is really important because a lot of cancer patients can really do great things under the right clinical trial. They can be under a clinical trial that is a new kind of drug that could help save their lives. So this is a really, really important tool, the clinical trial matching. So we're also doing some fun things. We did a fashion project really recently. This was for the Met Gala, and we partnered with Marchesa. And essentially, the dress is powered by Watson so that it reads tweets, and whenever the Met Gala came up, it would tweet different colors. So you guys can see it in action here.
Okay, let's talk about the partnership between Marchesa and IBM to create this gorgeous gown.
Well, we were absolutely thrilled when we were approached by IBM to do a dress for the Met Gala, and we worked with their computer Watson, which is a cognitive computer. So Watson took 150 images of our dresses and looked at them and aggregated all the tweets from Marchesa fans and came up with a color story of emotions. And then we came up with the idea of doing this dress with all the flowers that would change color. And so they linked that in with the technology. So whenever someone tweets about the Met, it will change color.
Now, how excited are you about tonight? How fun is the party?
So that was a really fun project, and Watson also helped design the dress, so it helped provide color patterns and different options. So that was a really interesting collaboration. I mentioned education, and so this was another partnership that we did with Elemental Path, and they created this toy, Cognitoys, after recognizing a gap in educational toys for children. So kids of all ages can ask questions and get answers and hear stories and tell jokes and create a personality for the toy that learns from them and changes over time. And then I have a short video for this one too.
My name is Amy.
Hi, Nevin.
What would you name a dinosaur?
Sparky.
Sparky? Your name is Sparky.
Okay, you may call me Sparky.
Could you spell space?
Space is spelled S-P-A-C-E.
You are cute.
Thank you. You are making me blush.
Let's play a game.
Let's play Find the Red Stone.
Let's do it. What is 18 minus 13?
5.
My favorite color is red.
Okay, I'll try to remember. You are the best kid I have ever met.
Tell me a joke.
All right. Why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure?
I
I don't know.
Because he was a little shellfish. I can tell jokes, answer questions, play games, and also make and tell stories. What do you want to do?
So Cognitoys was a Kickstarter that was funded successfully independently from us and used our Watson APIs to develop this. And now you can buy it on Amazon and a lot of different sources. So it's a really fun tool and kind of also shows how we're starting to branch out into more than just screens and into actual physical computing or robotics and all of these different ways to interact with these Watson services. So that brings me to my next point. So we have our Now here, this is a photo of a RoboCup standard platform league, and this team focuses on building software rather than the mechanics of the robot, and they have used Now since 2008. So essentially Now is a platform for a variety of different people and companies to put software into and use in any way. So I think I read in Korea they are teaching it to dance, and there are a lot of like fun ways that people are using this robot. So we're gonna talk to Now. Hi, Now.
Hi, Maya. Let me give this Swedish a try. Hej, Maya, och, hej, Malmo, hur är det, idag?
So, you guys tell Now how you're doing.
Great to hear. I am glad we're doing this at this time of year. According to my friends at the Weather Channel, I don't think I would survive the winter.
I hear the Weather Channel is only one of your good friends now. Do you have any friends who can help me find a restaurant in Malmo tonight?
Yes, Wayblazer, my local recommendation friend, can help me out. Do you want a quiet restaurant or something more lively during the festival?
How about something lively with some live music?
According to local news, Fisky Business serves a great fish soup, and nearby, you can catch Dawn of Oblivion at the Rock stage.
Oh, wow, you do have a lot of friends. What other friends do you hang out with?
I am quite young, so I have not met too many friends yet, but I can quickly talk to any friend that one of my siblings has worked with before.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, like Connie, at the Hilton. I haven't made it to Washington to see her in action yet, but I hear you live there, Maya. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Well, close. I live in New York, and it's a very short commute to Washington. So that's Now, and Connie, who Now just mentioned, is our robot concierge that we use at the Hilton. And it's named for the founder of the Hilton, Conrad Hilton. And Connie has learned to interact with guests and answer questions about hotel amenities, restaurant recommendations, services, local restaurants, attractions. And it learns from conversations and improves his responses over time. So it's really about this converging of platforms. So we're using software and robotics here in like a new and different way. So essentially what we're trying to do in IBM Watson right now is really push the boundaries of the way that you can use artificial intelligence in a variety of applications. And not just for us internally as we work with a variety of medical professions, but also with our partnerships and encouraging our partners to use Watson in really innovating and exciting ways. Thank you.